right, new episode, and we are back at it. So I have this weekend, and my goal is to work on the tunnel. So I made some modifications to the cross member right there. So I'm gonna box that in today and try to weld this passenger side. I don't know if you can see in there, but I made some modifications for the tunnel, and I got some ideas. So step one is to remove the transmission yet again, and then start working on welding and fabricating. All right, transmission's out, and here's what I did. Like I said, I made 2 cuts and left extra material here. So this is where I would have cut had this all been prior, right? This is the top of the tunnel. So I gave myself extra metal and then made the cuts based on with the transmission in and just kind of folded it back. And now this is where I have plenty of room. So this is the base of what I want to do on the passenger side. I'm gonna bend or cut this and then get a piece of metal to weld this in so that this all connects, and try to keep that same dimension and do the same thing on this side. The way this thing works, even from the Silver Sport transmission, is this is open like this. So it is kind of odd, but that's the procedure, I think. So on this side, here's where I had to notch the cross member a little bit. And so I have some metal that is this thickness, and I'm just gonna box this out, close that up. And then I'm gonna put a thicker piece of metal along here that follows this to make this stronger than it was before. So that's the plan. Of course it might change, but this is gonna be fun. I cleaned it up a little bit, got it to fit a little tighter. Got an idea where everything's gonna go, and I think I'm gonna grind this back and put a tack weld right here, because, I don't want this to suck in or anything or bring down. So I'm just gonna work my way back. All right, so here's my piece. Just a quick point here. I'm doing this approach where the piece is actually bigger than the hole, and then you tack weld around it and cut it while you're putting it down and welding it in, because if I try to make this fit on the inside and then have to make modifications, it's going to be a pain. But this is kind of where I'm going, so wish me luck. All right, so I sanded both sides and got the undercoating off. The easiest way to take that undercoating, I mean, you could sand it, but I put a little heat to it with the propane and just kind of heated it up, and then it just literally scraped off. So I didn't gum up any of my sanding discs or anything like that. So time to start welding in. All right, so I got it tacked into place. Now what I'm gonna do is take a cutting tool and make a cut, make it flush with the 2 pieces of metal, and then tack that into place, and then just start working my way around. This way the metal shouldn't shift or anything, and stay into place and allow me to trim as I go, and then not have to make one piece that's ready to go and then find out after I start welding it in that it shrunk in one place. So time to start welding it in. Okay, so here is an uncleaned end of the welding. I think that came out pretty good. It's I will grind it just because I'm a horrible welder, and I want this to look as good as possible. So I'll kind of grind this down, but you'll still see it, but it won't look this bad. So on to the next side, which is right here. I'm basically going to repeat the process and just kind of mold it into here. And then that should take care of this side of the passenger side of the transmission. All right, and here's what it looks like after I've knocked it down, part of it. I just wanted to kind of clean it up a little bit just because I've got crappy welds. But today I'm going to work on the back. I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'm going to make some slits here so that I can bring the metal down to a transition, and then make my template and weld it in. All right, here's where I'm ending the weekend. I got the two pieces in welded. Mainly my time is taken up grinding. I just want to do it. Like for example, I had to remove the welds from the automatic. You know, you can see them right there. They just, I cut them away, but they still gotta be trimmed down a little bit. And so, you know, no big deal, no rush. I got all winter. So next I'll finish the boxing out here and work on getting, while the compressor was working, I did some modifications here to kind of get things nice and tight. Of course, you can see I got to do some trimming on the inside. But all in all, I'm pleased with the progress. I think it's going to have plenty of room. Really wasn't that big a deal, and kind of fun. So moving on. All right. So it is the next weekend. During the week, I basically grinded down my welds to make them look a little less hideous. And I boxed out the piece under here and welded up from top as well. So I need, sorry about that, that was horrible. I have a plate to weld on top of here just to give it the structure if I lost anything from boxing that out. And then I'm pretty much ready to start the install of putting the manual cover on. I'm going to do this a little different. So the instructions say to plug weld, you know, kind of go along and plug weld and weld through prime it. And I'm going to try something a little different. For something like this, when you have metal lapped over, I think it is a perfect application for the 3M panel bond. I mean, that's what they're building trucks with now, truck beds and everything. I mean, it's a permanent bond, but the advantage to me over plug welds is it's the seam between the two metals overlapping is going to make a sealed barrier. So there should be no air, no moisture, nothing between these overlap pieces. And I'll still probably put some seam sealer and from underneath and up above and try to get it clean. But so I'm gonna weld that piece in today, and then I'm gonna start working on this and see if I can get the whole tunnel done this weekend. So fingers crossed. All right, so I got the plate welded in. Grinded some of my horrible welds, but I'm pleased it's in there. It's going to be super strong. And most of it is going to be hidden anyway. All of it is going to be hidden anyway when this goes on top. So next I'm going to put some POR 15 on that. And I'm not going to do that part yet because that's going to get glued. But that spot there I can do. Okay, POR 15 is on. Yeah, I couldn't help it. I had to do that spot. You know, when you got paint and a brush, you just want to keep going. So I'm pleased. I feel like I'm finally making progress on this. And I need to now clean the rust, surface rust there. I need to trim a little bit. I need to get this ready for the 3M panel bond stuff and get everything nice and tight together so that it makes a good bond. So moving on. All right. So I have the tunnel in place with self-tapping screws. I had to reform some of the metal back here because as I brought the tunnel up, it changed the shape. But that's all done now. I've grinded the metal on both sides to make it nice and rough. Cleaned up the rust on this side, and I'm about ready to do the panel bond. So here is the panel bond by 3M. I'll put it on both sides of the metal. and kind of sandwich together, and then use these screws to keep it tight. As cold as it is right now, it's probably going to take a couple of days to cure, but that's cool. It's not the weekend, so it's not really slowing me down, and I got to do it anyway. So I think the next step is to do one last test fitment to make sure that the transmission is in the right spot. I don't want to make any more adjustments, because once I glue this down, it is not moving. All right, I'm very pleased to report that nothing has changed, and that's exactly where I want this to come out. So we'll pull the transmission back out for the thousandth time, and it's time to panel bond this piece in. All right, so I've cleaned the metal. I have scuffed it up one last time, and it's time to put on the panel bond. So I'm going to put a coat on the floor and a coat on the attachment, the manual tunnel piece, then spread a thin coat with that and put it together, and use the set screws to keep it all together. I'm probably going to let it dry for a couple of days and put a heater in here so that, because it says it dries fastest when it's above 70 degrees. So I'll keep it nice and toasty in here, and probably let it dry for like 2 days, and then maybe get to the next phase on the weekend. So let's just get her done. All right, it is panel bonded in, screwed down, everything looks good. So I am not going to touch this for a few days. I know they say don't move anything around, keep the panels tight together and don't move. So I'll put a heater in here, keep it warm. They say it has to be above 70 degrees, but we'll take it from there. I am glad that this step is now over. So the tunnel should be good now, and I think that's probably going to be the hardest thing on this whole project, was modifying the tunnel. So anyway, thank you guys for watching, and next episode is probably going to be putting 3 pedals down there, the hydraulic clutch, and getting all that stuff situated. So thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you guys soon.